one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. Good to see you all here. Appreciate that. We need to start with a roll call. Ms. Harris, will you help us with that?
Councilmember Sellers is excused if you have.
Okay, thank you. We have an agenda. We do need to consider one addition to that agenda. Under our consent agenda, if we could put a limited malt beverage permit request for Trevor Rasmussen and the Safe Task Force for a fundraiser on August 13. If we could consider a motion to approve the agenda with that addition to our consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Welling with the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Otley seconding. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved the agenda. Council minutes for July 19th. Any concerns or comments regarding those minutes? If not, we will acknowledge those as they've been prepared and go on to the work session minutes for July 26. July 26. Any concerns or discussion regarding those minutes? If not, we'll acknowledge those as well, and we'll go on to the bills. Got a warrant register with today's date on it. Questions, comments, concerns? Is there a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Mr. Lynch with the motion, Mr. Perks seconding. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? We'll go on to the revenue and expenditure report for June. Same thing there. Any comments, concerns, questions? Is there a motion to approve that report? Mr. Welling with a motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Welling seconding. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved. I think it's maybe appropriate at this point in our meeting. I think it's very appropriate to recognize the very untimely and unexpected death of Rick Schuler, husband of Wendy Schuler, who sat on this council for many years. And extend to them our, as far as the city goes, our condolences, our love, and our prayers at a very unexpected and very untimely death. Rick was a integral part of our community for a variety of reasons, and Wendy is too. And we want them to know that we are thinking about them as a community and share in their grief and hope for peace and comfort in their family as their loved ones go through a very trying time. I think they need to be remembered here at this point. And with that, we'll go on to council comments. Mr. Lynch, what do you have for us tonight?
What you just said.
Thank you. Mr. Otley? Mr. Burks?
That goes for me too with the Schulers. God bless them.
Yeah. Mr. Welling?
Just echoing what you said, and we also lost Don George, who worked for the county, and I attended his funeral today, and he sang at every funeral I ever went to, and I said, who sings at Don George's funeral? And apparently Don George, they had a recording of him, and he sang at his funeral, so it's pretty appropriate. So our love goes out to the George family also.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Welling?
You and Councilman Wyman.
Thank you, and I appreciate you mentioning Don. Don worked in my office at the courthouse for the 12 or 13 years, and he also is a dear friend, and very nice service today for him. We have no public hearings or special orders, so we'll go on to our consent agenda, and we'll ask what's your pleasure. You want to address them separately or together? Together's okay with you guys? Together over here? We've got 3 items: a limited malt beverage permit, a street closure, and again, the limited malt beverage permit that was added. Is there anyone here that would like to address any of these issues, and we'll consider them all together? Mr. Rasmussen, you want us to know anything more about this before we move forward?
Like to know more about
If you'd like to stand to that pulpit and talk to us, we'll be happy to listen.
What we're doing is it's a movement to get the gentleman, the leading gentleman, the influential gentleman in UNA County involved in speaking out against domestic violence. One of the things that I've found since I've been there is guys in Wyoming are really good at one thing, and that's keeping their teeth together and keeping their nose out of other people's business. Sometimes that's not a good thing. So that's what this is about, is getting a group together. What we hope to come out of this with is a group of 7 to 10 gentlemen who will kind of spearhead this movement. And the most important thing that's going to come out of this is mentoring some of the younger gentlemen in this community.
Nice.
I think that's something that we need to bring back to the forefront. My opinion is if we're not teaching them, who is? And usually it's TikTok or Facebook or something that's not too great. Do you guys have any questions for us?
I just applaud your effort.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Is there anyone else that would like to address any of these other issues on our consent agenda? Have us know anything about them. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda. Mr. Lynch with the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Welling seconding. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye. 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 Are there any opposed? Those are all approved. Thank you. We have no unfinished business. We'll go on to new business, and we'll start there with Resolution 2250. Mr. Bowley, read that title for us, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the city authorizes the execution of an amendment to the agreement with Plan 1 Architects to provide design and construction management services for the Evanston Avalon International Project.
Thank you. Mr. Barker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a change order for design services with Plan 1 and their subs. If you recall, we had a bid opening, March, maybe, I can't remember when it was. We elected to reject all bids. There were some conflicting things with the owner and with what they wanted in the building, the type of steel manufacturer that was provided, so we had to rebid things, and there were some things that were changed, a lot of redesign and some things that occurred, and this is kind of the result of that. The architect put together a memo as well, kind of explaining the events, and whenever we use more time, it's more resources and more money and more funds, and so that's what this is for them. Plan 1, the engineering and design, the bid documents, we had to put out another bid, and then system redesign that you can see there for the electrical and mechanical and some things that we had to rework. So now we have a bid meeting tomorrow, a pre-bid meeting, and this is going to be bid out, the whole complete package, with completing everything, where before we were going to bid it in phases. So they had to kind of put together the plans a little differently, and hoping to get this resolved and get going and get some footings in the ground. So.
And I know that's what the Avalon folks would like to see as well, and I know there's been a lot of work going in, and I guess maybe this is a good opportunity to express appreciation to you, to Rocco, to Mika, to everybody from the staff level, truly, to the perseverance and the patience and the whatever else. But this is certainly a priority for the community. I know it's a priority for Avalon. I've talked with them many times, and so we want this project to happen for the community. And so I appreciate all the work that's gone in to it. So, any questions for Mr. Barker before we? Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce it for the motion fashion.
Mr. Perks with the motion, Mr. Welling seconding. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved. Thank you. Resolution 2251. Mr. Bowl, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the governing body approves change order number 01 for the 2022 street maintenance project, City View and Aspen Grove Drive in the city of Evanston.
Barker again.
Not have all my documents. Sorry. As you know, I've been trying to keep you up to date on what's been going on. Let me find my change order here. So the change order is a little confusing because of the way our bid documents are. Is we had a base bid, and then we had unit price bids, not knowing the exact quantities that we would use with those unit prices. When we found out how many soft spots and issues that we had once we pulled off the top and opened up Pandora's box, we realized that we were going to far exceed our estimate of quantities on soft spot repair, which is hauling out clay and bringing in new good structural material. Lewis & Lewis, or Kilgore Company, has been working with us they did work with us, and you can see that on some of these unit costs to bring them down a little, to try to make it a little more manageable. But as you can see, we're still far exceeding our budget for this year's street pavement. And as I explained, I felt like we could not repair it correctly or leave it in the disarray that it was. That I kind of made the decision that if we're going to fix it, we need to fix it correctly at all costs, I guess, and that's right or wrong or indifferent. But that was kind of the decision that I made.
Questions for Mr. Barker?
I just got it. I hope you could hear me.
Yeah.
I went up and met with Dean and Bob Lichty on this, and you absolutely did the right decision. I know we were expecting some problems with this project, and we got them. But you absolutely did it correctly, because I would hate to be up there 2 years while they're fixing the rest of City View and having that upper part falling apart on us. We would never. That would be a hard one to answer. So I would appreciate what you've done, Dean. I really do.
And there are a few little, we have a walkthrough next week, and there's a few little spots that are still need to be resolved. And the silver lining of this was that Kilgore is a company that has the manpower and equipment to do this amount of work that no one really anticipated with the past company. Nothing against them, but I don't think they would have had the manpower and equipment to do what we did. I know some of the people that lived up there were frustrated how long it took, but this would have been a long, long project with anybody else. And we'd still be working on it, I think, right now. So,
I think also that we have been told many times over the last few years that at some point we're going to have to kind of face the music with regard to City View Drive in particular. But I know that I don't know that anybody could have foreseen all of the problems that were going to be unearthed, so to speak, when the top is, so I don't know that anybody could have foreseen this issue. I know, Dean, that you have been concerned about this, and I appreciate that concern. What Councilman Otley says is absolutely right. At the end of the project, what we want is a good finished product, so that we're not doing this again, in a short amount of years. We're putting an investment in this. The community is making an investment in this road, and I think the residents there expect it to be right, then I think they should expect it to be right. We all want it to be right, and if that takes a little bit more than I think in the long run we'll be better off for it. That road was built quickly and at the time, and so it's probably, quite honestly, it's probably held up better than we should have anticipated. I mean, so I think we've been very lucky, but now that we know what's there, now we have some confidence moving forward, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Back then, they knew how to build roads on clay much more successfully than I know how to do it. And I'm hoping, that there aren't many more streets in our community that we're in this disarray, that maybe this is kind of not a normal thing that we have to do is rebuild these streets, but normal maintenance should hopefully suffice for majority of our streets.
Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce the motion to pass.
Mr. Welling with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Otley seconding. Is there any discussion?
I got one thing.
Please, go ahead.
This was a road, for the public, this was a road that was built during the boom, very hasty. It was a county subdivision. I guess I don't want anybody blaming the city for a boom that most of us weren't around for. Some of us were, but I think you did the right thing, Dean. I really do. As we haul those trucks when we do the lower half of City View, that would have tore that road right up if we didn't do it right. So you made the right decision.
Excellent. Further discussion? If there's none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved. Thank you, Deans. Resolution 2252. Mr. Bull, read that title for us, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the city authorized the execution of an agency agreement with Leads Online LLC is to access a reporting and criminal investigation system for receiving transaction data for law enforcement purposes.
Thank you. Chief?
Yes, Your Honor, members of council. What this is basically opens up more systems for us more directions for investigations staff to go with investigations. Obviously, when we get property reported stolen to us, we enter it into the NCIC, the National Criminal Information System, and it's listed there as stolen, and it's of no use to anybody unless another law enforcement officer actually picks it up and runs it to find out if it's stolen. And what this will do is open up avenues for more pawn shops around the nation. We can put our local pawn shop into the system too, and it'll share it with the throughout the entire system, as well as other organizations that deal in property like eBay, and even the like you're down at Walmart where you turn your cell phone in. And our investigators used the trial software for a week, and they were all impressed with it. And just as an example, what they accomplished in a week is Walmart was victim to a large number of stolen cell phones back in 2019, and we really had no leads on it. By simply putting this in, they found where a female had taken a cell phone into a Walmart in Las Vegas and turned it into one of those systems that buys the phone from you, and it had a picture of the front of the phone, back of the phone, scanned her driver's license, had a picture of her, and they pulled up, generating more leads to go on. So it's, I think it's a valuable system. It opens a lot of doors, and it's a feature-rich system. It's got a lot more features just beyond that, and I think it would benefit our agency, especially being an interstate community, and we do share a lot of, unfortunately, we share a lot of crime with other communities because of that, Wasatch Front and all around, and I think this would be a beneficial system to our investigations.
Excellent. Sounds good. Any questions?
Is this a system kind of like Utah uses?
It is. It is. As a matter of fact, Summit County is on this system too, and we'll be able to put private businesses onto it for free. And for instance, even whether that be a pawn shop, a secondhand store, or even a firearms dealer, they can put the transactions into here, and they'll flash nationwide to anybody that has access to the system.
Wow. Thank you.
Interesting. Comments? Concerns? Is there an introduction on this resolution? Mr. Lynch with a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Welling seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye. 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 Are there any opposed? That's approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Resolution 2253. Mr. Bull, read that title for us, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the City of Evanston authorizes the execution of an access and use easement to the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. It's for the installation of additional groundwater monitoring wells.
Neil.
Sorry. Mayor, City Council, Rocco O'Neill Community Development. Like Dennis mentioned, this is an access agreement with DEQ and one of their subcontractors, Antia, to remediate some of the underground storage tank contamination that took place. I don't even know, I don't have a date, but this allows them to install monitoring wells in our City Hall parking lot and north into what they refer to as the roundhouse property. It's the rail yards where it's dirt between our parking lot and the UP right-of-way. It just gives them the ability to install these wells. It doesn't cost us anything.
Will they be drilling wells? Well, I mean, would there be, are there any infrastructure there that they will be utilizing, or are they just going to drill some new wells?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the ones out at the roundhouse. They're very unobtrusive, and
Okay.
actually we ended up damaging them because we couldn't see them. So yeah, they're just there for the Antia group to monitor that groundwater contamination.
Okay.
Kind of like what's in front of the fire hall? Like 5
Yeah. Yeah, they know more than I do.
Report on what they find.
Did they send us a report on?
We've not been receiving reports, just that it's working. The aeration and the treatment they've been doing has been working. I'm not sure to what extent.
Good question. Okay. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce it for the motion. I'll pass you on.
Mr. Burks with the motion. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Welling seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 2254. Mr. Bowl, please.
Your Honor, this resolution authorized the acceptance of a quote from Strong Project, Inc. It's to purchase workstation furniture and chairs for use by the Uintah County Library in Evanston.
Thank you. Lynn.
This is the first expenditure of our American Rescue Act money that we told the library we would help them with some updated equipment. I think the county is getting them the computers, but these are workstations that place the computers, and they're all put together and everything when they show up. They're kind of unique. They're an S shape, so one person sits on one side and one on another with glass between them. So I guess you could say they're COVID safe too.
Sure.
But this is for those, and we had told them we would do $50,000, and it came up a little less than that to $36,790. So we are going to purchase them and have them delivered, and then I think this resolution takes care of giving it to them. Or do we need to do another one?
We might need to do another resolution indicating that we've transferred our right and title to the equipment
To the library.
to the Uintah Library.
Okay.
Or we might not. I'll see how I feel.
Okay.
Probably the
You know
proper
what?
thing would be to take the next step.
The library doesn't care if we put our asset tags on them, they told me.
I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they,
So-
in fact, when I visited with no, what's her name?
Claire Francis?
Claire. We kind of said that we'd just as soon have this on your inventory as ours, and she, I don't know that she really had too strong feelings either way. But,
Yeah.
the other thing I'll say, I know that this is kind of one of the things that I have tried to kind of, that I kind of wanted to do, and I appreciate the support of the council in doing this. When Claire first approached me about this, of course, this was with our rescue funds from the federal government, and so it was money that we weren't expecting, I guess, so to speak. But at the same time, when we talked, there was a few people in there that were taking care of business on the computers, and I guess I don't exactly know what they were doing. It's none of my business whatever they were doing. But I thought, if this helps somebody to apply for a job or increase their education or whatever it might be that benefits and blesses some lives, it's certainly worth the money to do, and so I appreciate the support for that, I think. Particularly to Councilman Welling here to my left. I know. I'm sorry, David. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce the motion back.
Mr. Lynch with a second. Thank you both.
Had a conversion.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I think it's a great idea, but I do have one question. Have you asked the auditors whether we'd be better off just giving it to them, or we wouldn't have to take any depreciation or anything over time on this, would we?
No, if we convey it to them or however, I know we did it with the ambulance, when we purchased the ambulance, so it would be the same type of thing.
So it'd be
So
easier just to get it out.
get it,
of our-
yes. Otherwise, we would have to, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good suggestion. Further discussion? If there's none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Trudy. Resolution 2255. Mr. Bowl, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the city authorizes the execution of a contract with the Evanston Rodeo Series.
So this is something we haven't done the past 2 years, or else we did it partially the 1 year, and then we didn't do last year. But they did start Rodeo Series again, so we have started his contract. This is to start his contract, and I did speak with him today. We are going to give him payments quarterly, as the agreement states. He will bring us his financials, and then we'll release him a check. So the next time, you'll probably see his first payment for it. So he'll have a couple payments that'll go to next year, too. Next year's
know that
rodeo.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, next year's rodeo. He'll have some money that goes to those.
I do know that a couple years back when the pandemic hit, they were thinking that that was probably the final straw, I guess, so to speak, for the rodeo series. And earlier this year, I know that John Bounds and I spoke, and he thought that maybe he had a little left in him. He had a little energy left. He was concerned about that a couple years back. But honestly, I'm thrilled to see it come back, and I hope it's I've heard that most of the rodeos were well attended. I didn't get a chance
They were.
myself, but they were all very well attended. So I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
Any questions on this resolution before we move forward? Is there an introduction? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I attended a couple of them, and they were packed.
They were.
I didn't see Rocco in one of those bubbles getting hit by a bull.
Like he said he was gonna.
Yeah, I chickened out. I got video.
I'd have been there for that.
But it was, they did a good job this year and only having 6 rodeos, but it was
good.
If we had better stands, we'd be a lot more comfortable.
That's coming.
I think they're coming. I hope they're coming. I'd like to believe they're coming.
They put on a good rodeos, so.
Thank you. Is there an introduction on this resolution? Mr. Welling with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Welling seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved. Resolution 2256. Mr. Buller, read that title for us, please.
Your Honor, this resolution of the governing body declares the current state statutes regarding the designation of liquor licenses issued by municipalities are stifling economic growth, and requesting the state legislature review, consider, and adopt modification to the state statutes regarding said licenses.
Thank you.
I think I'll provide the background on this, and then Mr. Otley, you can fill in. You kind of need to save your voice. I can hardly hear you sometimes. A couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago, the city of Cheyenne had a retail liquor license that they got back and they could issue to someone in their community. And so they requested proposals. And they got a number of proposals, and several of the proposals were innovative and would have brought a new entertainment component to their community. And they found it very frustrating, that council found it very frustrating that they only had one license to give. And of course, the people who came forward with the proposals found it very frustrating. So one of the conclusions that came out of that process was that maybe the limitation on liquor licenses based on census data is not the way to go anymore. That may be having the effect of stifling economic development, stifling entrepreneurship in Cheyenne and in the state of Wyoming. So what they did in Laramie County is all of the municipalities, the Cheyenne, but the small ones too, prepared this resolution basically requesting that the legislature take a look at that issue again and consider maybe modifying it to enable municipalities to become a little more flexible and being able to respond to those kinds of requests. So this resolution is an adaptation of that resolution. The Laramie resolution was taken and it was modified to fit the city of Evanston. And Councilman Otley asked me to prepare it for your consideration. I think if he talks tonight, and if you can hear him, he's going to tell you that he's had similar experiences in our community, that the limitation on liquor licenses makes it very difficult to innovate and bring new entertainment possibilities to our community. So all this resolution is a statement of policy. It doesn't require anybody to do anything. It doesn't change any ordinances. It doesn't change any rules or regulations. It requests the legislature look at the issue and consider making changes. And with that, I'll let Councilman Otley take it from there.
I don't, I'd be better off just not saying anything. You did a great job. Thank you.
I know that this is something that you have felt strongly about and wanted to move forward, and I think it's an appropriate thing to do as well. Is there any other comments on this before we move forward? Is there an introduction on this resolution? Mr. Otley. Second. Mr. Welling seconding. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye. 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 Are there any opposed?
I'm opposed because to be honest with you, I haven't had time to think this one through.
Okay.
This, when I read it earlier today, because I put in so many hours because of the $1 billion lottery, I haven't had time to think this through, and I don't think it'd be fair to vote on something I'm up in the air about.
Excellent.
Maybe we can talk, or I can listen later, or I'll talk and we'll text.
Appreciate that. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Perks. Resolution 2257. Mr. Bowl, please.
Your Honor, for these next three resolutions, the long titles are Mika and Gordon's fault. This first one is a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board for a grant through Water and Sewer AROPA grant program, funding in behalf of the governing body for the city of Evanston, Wyoming, for the purpose of replacing and upgrading the antiquated North Grass Valley wastewater lift station with a generator to provide consistent and high-level service. It's known as the North Grass Valley Lift Station Replacement and Improvement Project.
Thank you. Mika, take it away.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. And basically, I'm just going to kind of repeat what Dennis just said. But this is the ARPA plan, which is the American Rescue Plan Act funds. And what's happening is these funds are being funneled through the SLIB office, the State Land and Investment Board. They have set aside $50 million for water and sewer projects. And the maximum amount that we can request at a time is $7.5 million. The incurred costs have to be from March 3rd of last year to December 31st of 2024. And there's a minimum match requirement of 15%, but according to their scorecard, if you do 15%, you don't get any points for that. So it's decided to do 25%, which is something that we thought was reasonable. There are 3 projects, as Dennis mentioned. There are 2 water projects and 1 sewer project. The North Grass Valley Lift Station is our sewer project. And what it will do is it'll improve an aging station and install a backup generator. So, and this station services a lot of apartments and condos and churches and businesses in the area. And it will also accommodate future growth, which we are seeing over there. So the amount that we are requesting is around $440,000, and the match is around $110,000.
That 440, is that for this resolution alone, or is that in the,
That's
all three
for
together?
this resolution alone.
Okay. I want to make sure that.
They asked that we separate the projects, and so, you know, either way, we're covered.
And when do we anticipate hearing if we're successful in this application?
Well, the grant's due next Friday, August 12th, and hopefully there's a fairly fast turnaround time, but they're going to be probably dealing with more than 50 million in requests, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Any questions for Mika before we move on with this one?
Your hard work on it.
Yeah. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
Thanks to Gordon, too, because he's put all the numbers together.
Mr. Lynch with the motion, is there a second? Mr. Otley seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you, Mika. Resolution 2258. Mr. Bowl, please.
This resolution authorizes the submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board for a grant through Water and Sewer AROPA Grant Program funding on behalf of the governing body for the City of Evanston for the purpose of replacing aging 4-inch water main lines in 18th, 19th, and West Summit Street to an 8-inch PVC piping to improve fire flow and reduce service outages.
Mika.
So again, this is replacing, this is one of the water projects, and it replaces these aging steel or cast iron water lines that currently exist. And we've had several breaks in this area, so that will decrease those. We're changing from a 4-inch line to an 18-inch PVC line, along with some hydrants. This will increase fire flow.
Mika. That's
Huh?
a good pipe.
Yeah.
You said 18. I think it's
Oh, sorry, 8.
Go
Yes,
from
8.
4 to 8 inch. I'm sorry. You're doing fine. It's a lot of water.
And this will increase, well, with 18, it really increase fire flow, and it'll prevent service disruptions and accommodate future growth. And we're requesting approximately $1.6 million for this project with a $400,000 match.
Excellent. Any questions here? Is there an introduction on this resolution? Mr. Welling with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Mr. Perks with a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I think it's great we're going after these, by the way.
Projects that we were going to try to do and will do one way or another. This is just kind of help with some funding for it.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. Mika, Resolution 2259. Mr. Bowie, read that title for us, please.
Your Honor, this resolution authorizes the submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board for a grant through the Sewer AROPA Grant Program on behalf of the governing body for the City of Evanston for the purpose of replacing an aging 4-inch water main line in Sage Street to an 8-inch PVC piping to improve fire flow and reduce service outages.
Mika.
So this project, again, is another water project, and this one is almost completed, but it did start after that March 3rd deadline of last year. So Again, we're replacing the water main lines to 4-inch to 8-inch, because again, there's frequent breaks over there. So, and this services residential schools, a daycare, churches. So it's important that those lines work properly. We are requesting around $520,000 with a match of $130,000.
Okay. Any questions for Mika on this one? Is there an introduction on this resolution 2259? Mr. Otley with a motion. Mr. Welling seconding. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved. Thank you, Mika.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work on all of those. Thank you. Comments from departments. Chief Ranish, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yes, sir. I'll just reiterate what you said earlier about the loss of our community. Is significant. I also want to, I know we're not here, but show thanks to the fire department and ambulance service. We didn't have a standoff and response this week. Brought a lot of resources, assistance that were very valuable to us.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, you have anything for us tonight? Ms. Lim? Mr. Barker? Mr. Ehlers? You're quiet back there, just quietly taking in the meeting. Mr. Robinson?
I just want to thank Mika for on those grant applications and being able to fill out the numbers and the stuff too, especially with those water lines. I know some of them are already underway, but hopefully
Get some help with it. We might as well. Excellent.
And it's not the first time I've lived on a gravel road.
Might not be the last, too, either. Ms. Harris, do you have anything for us?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bold?
Nothing more, Your Honor.
Public participation. Kane, I guess it's you. You don't have anything for us tonight? Yep, I hear you. Yeah. Sad day. Okay, well, if that's everything, thank you for being here, and we'll adjourn.